Hey everybody, Swayze here, and in today's video we're going to be discussing the all-new 2023 Mazda CX-50. Now we're going to be talking about the exterior, interior, and then going over all of the fun specs that you should know about if you're considering purchasing one of these vehicles. So without further ado, let's get started. Now before we get started, I do want to give a huge thank you to the Rocky Mountain Automotive Press for giving us the opportunity to review all of these vehicles. Now unfortunately I didn't get all of the vehicles in today's event on camera, but this was an awesome event, and I'm going to put their information down below so you guys can reach out to them if you have any questions. And also a huge thank you to the manufacturers and press vehicles that were out at today's event for giving us the opportunity to sit behind the wheel and really test drive these vehicles. Okay, so if you're as confused as I am about Mazda's lineup, what exactly is the CX-50? Because you may be familiar with the CX-5, which is pretty much one of the best-selling compact crossovers. Well, the CX-50 kind of builds on that and is the off-road version of the CX-5. But funny enough, this actually isn't built on the CX-5 platform. It's actually a different platform altogether, but it happens to share three of the same letters. So starting off with the front end, this does look a little bit more aggressive. You have these kind of recessed headlights and then this really cool kind of texture to the front end of the headlight. Really cool look to it. It kind of juts out, gives it a more aggressive stance, and then same on the passenger side. Now, when the daytime running lights are on, it does look really nice and aggressive on the front end. Really overall very nice styling. That's typical Mazda. They really do design very attractive looking vehicles. Now coming over to the side, you do have a little bit more cladding than your traditional CX-5. This is kind of meant to be the off-road version, like I said, and so that's supposed to protect from rock chips and just dust as you're driving on roads like this where there's just a lot of gravel. Gives it a more beefier look to it. Coming over to the side, you do have this kind of chrome touch, but everything else is blacked out. Kind of odd they chose that. And then you do have chrome over here up top. Now this particular color looks really nice. It's called the polymetal gray metallic, and I really like how it looks. It's kind of got a off-road look to it, which is essentially what they've intended with the CX-50. Coming to the back, again, this is the same as Mazda's design language, but just a little bit different on the CX-50. Really nice look to it. You do have more black cladding over here and then two exhaust pipes, and this is a turbocharged engine. We'll talk about engine output here in just a minute, but I wanted to give you an exterior look at this CX-50. Now, for those of you wondering what the difference is between this and a CX-5, as in why would you purchase this over the other one, well, this one is actually a little bit larger. This is 3 inches wider, and it's actually 6.5 inches longer than the CX-5. And in terms of ground clearance, it's actually about 1 inch taller. It's 8.6 inches of ground clearance. Now, this one is a little bit more expensive than the CX-5 as well, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. Now, just like other crossovers that are converting into off-road trims, this isn't really a huge off-road rock crawling vehicle, right? Those are for the Wranglers and the Broncos. This does not have a low range, it does not have a locker, but it kind of gives you that attitude that it can handle a little bit more aggressive off-roading. Kind of like the Crosstrek from Subaru, this is essentially Mazda's answer to that. So keep that in mind. When we're talking about off-roading, it's more of just a trim level than it is kind of an actual avid off-roader, and that's the intention from Mazda as well. Now, speaking of pricing, as I mentioned earlier, this one starts at $27,550 and goes all the way to around $44,000. This one in particular that you're seeing on the screen is just around $43,170. We're going to jump inside here in just a minute and show you exactly what about 43 grand of a CX-50 buys you on the interior. Starting off with the interior, it is very typical Mazda. You do have some soft touch injection molded plastic, really nice to have that it's not a hard touch plastic over here. I do like this contrast stitching with the orange. That's for the CX-50, and then this is a nice leather material. This is also a leather, so really nice use of materials on the door panel, especially at this price range. There's your window switches, and then this is just a plastic grab handle with a little bit of texture to it, and then you have your speaker grill over here. Now coming over on the inside, again, more of that contrast color carries over. You do have some orange piping and some orange stitching over here. Looks really nice and unique. I like that. These leather seats are nice. They grab you really well, and they are nice to look at as well. Now coming over into the dash, let's climb inside because this is where it looks a little bit different than a CX-5. Now turning the engine on, First thing I noticed was how unique this digital gauge cluster is. So let me show you what I'm talking about. You do have kind of a unique mix of digital and analog display. So the center is obviously digital, then you have kind of this aluminum bezel around it, and then you have more digital display over here. And you can kind of tell in lighting where the screen ends, but a really unique touch. You kind of mix the analog with the new school with the digital. So, and then you do have analog over here on the left and right. I'm okay with some cars not having all digital displays, and I think this one executes that very well. Now the steering wheel is also really nice. Probably one of my favorite parts of this vehicle. Nice leather wrapped. It's kind of got a really luxurious look to it. You've got these silver buttons. I don't think these are aluminum, but these are silver buttons over here, but it just kind of fits into the design. Really nice job from Mazda on the steering wheel. You have your vent over here on the left-hand side, and then just your buttons for your camera and your parking brake and other safety features as well. Now, speaking of your camera, you can push this button and it will pull up your 360 camera. Really nice. Now, it's not as nice as some other competitors do it, where you can literally do like a 360 where you're rotating around the car like you could see on the Kia that I reviewed earlier. But nonetheless, still nice that it does come with a 360 camera. Now, before we jump down from this display, I do want to talk about its size. This is about a 10.3 inch display. And I gotta say, it does seem a little bit small. I think it's more of the horizontal width than it is kind of tall. It's a little bit narrow, but it does allow you to have a big commanding view over the road. But I do wish they made it just a little bit larger. It's pretty simple to use if you've ever used a Mazda system before. The one complaint I do have is the fact that this is actually not a touchscreen. As you can see, I'm pushing it and it's not actually doing anything. But if you turn on Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, this will then become a touchscreen, which is just odd to me. Why not just have it be a touchscreen to begin with and not have to just be in a certain mode? Now, I will say it is a bit of a far reach, so you're probably not going to use the touchscreen functionality, but at least give us that option if we choose to. So that is a bit of a quirk on the interior. Over here, you have a nice leather. I don't know if you could tell on the screen, but this is a nice leather with a little bit more of that contrast stitching. And this is really soft touch. Like, this is a injection molded soft touch, which is really nice. Actually, the whole dashboard is. There's no hard touch plastic whatsoever, but this over here is like really soft. You do have a vent over here, and then another vent, or a fake looking vent, that transfers over into the passenger side. And then this is actually a vent that a lot of people complain about because it seems a little bit out of place. I don't really have too many problems with it. I think it's just a regular looking vent. And then the passenger side, you have another vent as well. So that covers that section. Coming down here, this is a pretty simple to use climate control settings. Heated and ventilated seats for the passenger and the driver, and you do have a heated steering wheel. And then moving further down, this is a little storage bin. You do have cup holders. Coming back here, a lot of piano black plastic. These are your different driving modes: sport, normal, and off-road. And I do like that the colors change on the cluster. That's really nice. This is kind of how you control the center screen. So you move the mouse pad over here, similar to what you'd find in German cars from about 10 years ago. And it's okay. It's a little bit on the flimsier end, but again, this is a press vehicle, so it may be used and abused a little bit more than your regular vehicle. But you do have quick access buttons that you can push, and the system is pretty intuitive. I do wish, again, they had that touchscreen functionality, but I'll make do because I do like using these rotary knobs if they're done correctly. You do have your parking brake over here. This is your volume control, and then this is kind of your favorites button that you can use for a variety of different options. Now, coming back here, this is your storage compartment, and oh, wait a minute, this does have wireless charging. It's just hidden below the armrest. Armrest is pretty deep. It opens from the middle, which is nice. Very, very nice, soft padded. That's one thing I'll notice about this vehicle is everywhere that you touch is like extra soft leather. So this is extra soft, this is extra soft, and so is this armrest. One of the softest I felt. This vehicle does also come with a panoramic moonroof, which is really nice to see. Not all vehicles in this price point have a panoramic moonroof, and it does actually open. So that's another nice feature. And that way your rear passengers have a little bit more breathing room. Speaking of the rear passengers, let's jump back and show you what that looks like. Coming back here, this is where you could see they cut a little bit of cost, but again, that's normal for a vehicle in this price point. This is a hard touch plastic material, but you do have nice soft touch materials where you're going to rest your elbows. Same type of grab handle. Now coming inside, again, really nice leather seats with that same orange contrast stitching. And coming back here, since this is kind of the off-road version, you do have heated seats back here, which is nice. Not all vehicles, especially in this price point, come with that. And you have rear air vents as well. Now in terms of legroom, plenty of leg room, plenty of headroom, not a problem for me. I'm about 5'9", and especially with this really open panoramic sunroof, really nice airy feel back here for the Mazda CX-50. You also do have 2 cup holders and an armrest back here as well. Now let's talk about trunk space. This does have an automatic power liftgate, which is a nice add-on that's not always available, and a pretty sizable good trunk space. You do have underfloor storage as well, a little bit, not a dramatic amount, but just a little bit, and a spare tire, which is nice to have. Then you've got kind of got these cubbies over here on the left and the right hand side that you can store some stuff, and you do have a 12-volt adapter. I would have loved to have a power outlet, but most vehicles in this price point do not have it. You can pull on this lever and the seat will start folding down, so that's nice that you can have access to that in the trunk because not everybody offers that. Okay, now let's wrap it up with the engine. One thing I will mention is this does have hood struts, which is nice because other vehicles of this price point may not come with that. So just some nice touches that Mazda added that some other competitors don't include. Now this particular vehicle comes with a 2.5 liter twin scroll turbo that produces 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque. That's a pretty sizable amount for a vehicle of this size. Now, in terms of fuel economy, you're about 23 in the city and 29 on the highway with this turbo engine, and it's about 1 MPG better on the premium gasoline. Now, you can also get this CX-50 with a more basic engine of a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder that produces 187 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. Now, in terms of towing capacity, if you choose this bigger turbocharged engine, you can get upwards of 3,500 pounds. If you choose the smaller one, you're looking at just around 2,000 pounds. Okay, folks, well, there you have it. That is just a quick overview of the 2023 Mazda CX-50. Let me know your thoughts on the CX-50. Would you choose this over the CX-5? Are you kind of tired of off-road crossovers, or is this maybe your next vehicle? Let me know down in the comments below. And if this is your first time stopping by, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and check out all of the weekly videos. Until next time, everybody, I hope you stay schwazy, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day.